come on. Okay, it's Scott Dewey back again with his parade of products that have changed my life for the better. Products I really like, products that have really done the job for me. And again, I should emphasize this is totally unpaid, totally unsolicited. Um, I just felt like saying some good things about some products that have really helped me out. And I know people, it may be more useful actually if people do that online, rating a product at Amazon.com or um, some other service that sells them. So I could do that, but I'm doing this instead. But anyway, the product for this episode is my favorite pair of long underwear. And not full body long underwear, just from the waist down, but anyway, ColdPruf, which I affectionately call ColdPruf, because that's the way it's spelled, isn't it? Anyway, I should say perhaps I'm from Southern California, where maybe it gets down into the 30s like one or two nights a year and not during the day. so a Southern California winter is, well, mostly it gets down into the 50s, maybe the upper 40s. It's kind of rare that it goes much lower than that, frankly. And most of the rest of the year it's, in the 70s Fahrenheit, upper 60s, maybe up into the lower 80s. You get some bad summer heat waves when it can get up above 100 and certainly up into the 90s, but mostly it's pretty gentle. And so Southern Californians, unless they've lived elsewhere, don't know much about winter. And for Southern Californians, snow is just like going up into the mountains for a day or two to ski and frolic and whatever, and it's all fun. And when you've had enough of that, you just go back down to where it's in the 70s. Eat your heart out, northern Midwest. But anyway, I was, for reasons that need not be explained here, I was relocating to Minneapolis from Los Angeles. That's a big change. I was doing it, moreover, right before winter set in. And I was a little worried. As a Southern Californian, like, am I going to be able to handle it at all? Am I going to go crazy? Am I going to be, like, snowbound and trapped in my apartment for weeks on end? I really didn't know, and I'd been told, and it was true, that unlike some other cities, well, I have a friend in Washington D.C., for instance, and always kind of chuckles about how, yeah, they get 2 inches of snow and the whole city shuts down. It's like, not in Minneapolis. They know how to deal with snow. They know how to keep the city running pretty well, even with lots of snow. We did actually, some weeks back, we had a storm so big, I don't know the exact statistics, but having walked through it, having had it go over the tops of my boots, etc., I'm figuring it must have been at least 14 inches within about an 8-hour period. And that was so thick and deep that I saw cars stranded at the curb, unable to get any traction to pull away from the curb, even out into the street where you could drive. I saw buses trapped in intersections, unable to move, etc. I did a lot of snow shoveling. But that's pretty unusual. Usually the city just keeps on running even when the snow is there, and the snow is there a lot, and it sticks around too. I'm looking out at rooftops full of, covered with thick blankets of snow, like a foot of snow. Uh, it'll be that way for a while. It's not supposed to get above freezing until, I know, over a week from now. But anyway, back to ColdPruf. I was in Southern California. I knew I needed to prepare for some real winter of a type I wasn't used to. I needed to get some proper clothes. A coworker of mine even reached out to remind me of that in case I wasn't thinking straight about that. That yeah, layers. And I did have a bit of an advantage with this in that even though I lived in Southern California, I motorcycled year-round. And if you're motorcycling and it's down in the 40s, let alone the upper 30s, and you're going 30 or 40 miles an hour, you're dealing with sub-freezing conditions. It can be brutally awful if you're not prepared for it. So I already had the concept of layers pretty well in my mind, and that was lucky for me. But anyway, I knew I needed to get some proper equipment and clothing. And so I went online and, found a place offering various different brands of thermal underwear. And I didn't know what was best. So I tried a few different ones, just even some different systems, like different, some companies have certain different layers designed to go with each other, the deep inner layer, middle layer, etc. I got a bunch of different things, figuring one or another of these will work, or maybe all of them. Purchased a fair amount, not knowing just how many I'd need or how many layers and pairs I'd have to wear to stay alive in a real winter. But anyway, while I was doing that, I ordered all these products from this one place, different brands, I might add, from this one retailer. But I continued to shop around online a little bit further. I guess I was on Amazon, I don't know. And I saw ColdPruf, ColdPruf. And I checked them out, and I also checked out the written testimonial from some satisfied customer who was, as I recall, a guy from upstate Michigan who talked about having purchased a pair and having gone out when it was in the single digits or maybe right around zero, just with a pair of these and a pair of jeans to go out to the garage, go out to the barn, whatever, do something. And was saying how, and it was fine. They did the job. I thought, well, okay, I'll try those too. I guess I bought 2 pair rather than 1. I mainly just used this one. And I had those with me when I got to Minneapolis. And so I was prepared when winter did set in, as it promptly did. And, when was it? Somewhere in the teens of December back in 2016, there was a particular Sunday, I think it was, when I went out to a local park with a beautiful waterfall in it, which freezes in winter, turns into ice stalactites that are kind of beautiful and interesting to look at. Anyway, I went out there on a day when it was like minus 12 with wind chill, feeling even colder than that. So, I got to see some real winter in short order. Usually it wasn't as cold as that. Frequently, especially that first year, I was wearing my thermal underwear, though, and glad to have it. And I quickly found that although all the different brands I had bought were really pretty decent products, and I have nothing bad really to say about any of them, I quickly found that my ColdPrufs were far and away my favorites, and for a few different reasons. And it's partly partly just me, I suppose, and the shape of my body, and the other designs from the other makers might fit some other people better, But turns out ColdPruf was the best for me for a few reasons, and one of them is, let's see. Well, it's they seem to be cut for people with relatively long legs, and I am not a tall person at all, but I have legs long enough for a tall person. I mean, most of the missing height is in the spine, I guess, for me. But yeah, I have long legs. And, the ColdPrufs seem to be cut nicely for people with long legs. They also have this tight tapered cuff at the end. This may be a little stretched out by now because these have been used pretty heavily over 2 winters. But anyway, yeah, they've got this elastic cuff at the bottom. Some of the other brands don't, and they might have their reasons for that. I mean, just in terms of design. I suppose a cuff like this is a bit of a quality feature. I mean, it's extra work to do that, of course, and extra design. But anyway, there might be reasons why some people don't want that down at the bottom, depending on what other things they're using, socks, boots, you name it. But I like them. They work really well for me. They go all the way down past my ankles. I can put my first pair of socks on over them, so there's a nice tight, basically airtight seam between the thermal underwear and the sock, which is a good start for layering right there. Little stuff like that makes a difference, I find. Another thing, too, in addition to being kind of cut for long-legged people, they seem to have a fairly high waist, cut with a fairly long, high waist. And I like that, too, as opposed to some other products. These just fit me better. Another thing, well, part of the high waist, I guess. I've got big glutes. Yeah, I mean, I've walked forever. I've done lots of running, lots of bicycling, lots of steep hill climbing through the years. That's what I did for recreation as well as to get around. Maybe it runs in the family too. Maybe that's kind of a German thing even, I don't know. But yeah, I've got big glute muscles, and then after being through a Minnesota winter, they're bigger than they should be. Winter weight. Anyway, the ColdPrufs are also cut well for somebody big in the butt, and I can use that maybe more than some others. So anyway, for me anyway, some of the other makers' products, they sort of feel like they're wanting to pull down in a way I don't particularly like. They don't go all the way down to my ankles. They stop somewhere else, and they're not that tight where they do on my legs anyway. The ColdPrufs fit me just right, and for most conditions, most cold weather conditions, just them and a pair of pants is all I need. I mean, I've toughened up some from Southern California by my second winter. I can easily go out in the 20s all the way down into the upper teens just with a pair of pants on, no thermal underwear at all. So getting a little more like a native, I suppose. But yeah, usually just these, just my ColdPrufs and a pair of pants is enough to take me all the way down to certainly 0. And when it gets down below that, -5 feeling like -13 with wind chill or whatever, and it's nice to have a second pair of thermal underwear under my pants, but still, these do a remarkable job. They are my favorites. They're comfortable. They fit me well. I love them. I'm glad I took the chance on them after buying all these other ones and really having enough already. And I have to say, thank you, ColdPruf. You've been my loyal winter friend. I am grateful. And yeah, this is a product that's really made my life better, I must say. And I don't say that about everything, but I'm saying it about ColdPruf long underwear. Okay, I think that's enough.